Hello, softball fans, and welcome to another edition of the North Dakota Softball All-Stars podcast. We're finally playing softball games, a whole lot of them in the last week, and we'll talk about some outstanding performances from those games. We're going to talk specifically about a whole bunch of games that were played in Castleton, the first annual Squirrel Softball East-West Invitational. That's coming up later on the podcast. We're going to talk to two players who played in the Squirrel Softball East-West Invitational over the weekend, one from Central Cass and one from Des Lacs, Burlington, Lewis, and Clark. We'll get to both of them in just a little bit, and then just, some odds and ends updates as we roll through. So let's get right to it. Like I said, a big week for softball in and around the state of North Dakota, and the place to be early in the week was West Fargo as they unveiled their brand new field right there at the high school. Very nice facility from the looks of things. I haven't got out of the car there yet, but I've driven by. Looks fantastic, and they christened it in fantastic fashion. Courtney Bowl from West Fargo tossed a no-hitter to beat Grand Forks Central in the very first game, and in fact, West Fargo won emphatically in both games of the doubleheader against Grand Forks Central in that inaugural game, or inaugural doubleheader there at the new field in West Fargo. Valley City, they traveled to a tournament on the east side of the Red River, played in Minnesota, and some pitching domination from Valley City's Haley Schaefer in Game 1 of the 3 games played on Saturday. She tossed a no-hitter against St. Cloud Apollo, a 5-inning victory there for the Highliners. And then she came back in the third game. Valley City won the first against Apollo, lost to Maca, and then came back and beat Fergus Falls in unbelievable fashion. Haley Schaefer, a 5-inning perfect game. So in the same day, Schaefer threw a no-hitter, a perfect game, went 10 innings without allowing a hit. Very well done by Haley Schaefer of Valley City. And then if we could for just a second, let's jump outside of high school softball into college softball. A girl that was an all-star in the very first season of the Shield Softball All-Star Series, and then went on to play one season at NDSU. Her name's Jamie Barta. We've had her on the podcast program before. Having a successful season in year 2 out of high school at Butler Community College in Kansas this year. As of this recording, she's played in 40 games, hitting just a tick or two below 300 at 291 for the season. Scored 32 runs, driven in 15, and is 11 for 12 in stolen base attempts. Jamie Barta, a fantastic player out of Bismarck, playing college ball this year, Butler Community College in Kansas. So there's some odds and ends. As always, if we missed anything that was incredible throughout the week of softball, find us on Twitter at NDSB All-Stars. Shoot us over. At the very least, we'll give it a retweet. We want to know about those outstanding performances going on in North Dakota. Okay, let's take a look at this Squirrel Softball East-West Invitational. We talked about it last week, kind of prefacing it for coming up this past weekend, Friday, April 26th, Saturday, April 27th, hosted in Castleton. 5 teams from the West, 7 teams from the East, and a whole bunch of games. Maybe the most juicy one on the outside looking in was the very first one, 2 o'clock on Friday. Central Cass and Des Lacs, Burlington, Lewis, and Clark, number 1 and 2 in the preseason polls. Central Cass, 6-0 winners. Lexi Brewer threw a 1-hit complete game shutout. We're going to talk to her a little bit earlier. Erica Hermanson for Des Lacs, Burlington, Lewis, and Clark was on the other side of that game, and we will also talk to her later on in this podcast. Also at 2 o'clock over on the football field at Central Cass, it was Bishop Bryan 9 and Thompson 4.
There's a drive hit to left field, down for a base hit. That will score. Cunningham on her way to second with the double is Macy Jordheim, and it's now a 2-0 Thompson lead. So runners now at second and third. Fly ball, that's hit well to left field. Going back, not able to get it there is Warrican. 2 more runs cross the plate to make it a 5-3 lead on a 2-run double by Seeley Rovig.
That's Dan Keating from KMAV on the call there as Bishop Bryan, again, 9-4 winners over Thompson. Into the 4 o'clock time slot on Friday, Velva, Drake, Animus came over and beat Northern Cass 7-3, and Kindred Richland took care of Watford City by a 13-1 margin. Heart River, a team that came in unbeaten, They continued it at 6 o'clock on Friday with a 6-0 win over Hillsborough Central Valley. And the nightcap over on the football field, it was Mayport CG Area 11 and the Hankinson Co-op 1.
And the batter's Josie Flayton. Flayton, a bases-loaded walk, a run batted in, and a strikeout. Ground ball hit to short, past the shortstop and into left field. 1 run will score as Jorgensen comes in. An error on the shortstop. Jorgensen will cross the plate. Foss to third, and it's now a 5-1 Patriot lead. Line drive, that's going to fall in. That's going to run all the way out to the right field fence. 1 run scores. 2 runs score, and it's going to be a 3-run double for Hannah Huston. It's a 10-1 lead.
KMAV's Dan Keating on the call with that one. Mayport CG Area again would go on to win 11-1 over Hankinson. It all got going right away, 9 a.m. on Saturday as the Hankinson Co-op came back and defeated Watford City by a score of 8-2 on the softball field. And over on the football field, it was Northern Cass edging Mayport CG Area 4-3.
Fly ball hit to right field, caught. Jorgensen tagging, coming home, and she is safe. And Foss will move up to third. Ball gets away. Foss is going to score. And it's now a 3-2 Mayport CG lead. So a sac fly and a run batted in for Josie Flayton. Carpenter's next offering is to the backstop. And that's going to be the winner on a wild pitch. So the 4th run scores on a wild pitch as Slinger crosses the plate, and Northern Cass will win it 4-3 here in the bottom of the 7th.
Dan Keating again on the call from KMAV as Northern Cass rallied from behind to beat Mayport CG with a walk-off run scored by Allie Slinger on a wild pitch. We fast forward to the 11 o'clock time slot, one that we thought might have been interesting between Central Cass and Bishop Ryan out of Minot. Went the way of the hometown Squirrels by a mark of 14-4. And then maybe the upset of the tournament, not that it was a wild and crazy upset, but maybe the biggest one that we saw, Velva Drake Animus in a tightly pitched game. Great job on both sides by both pitchers. Velva Drake Animus 2, Thompson 1.
Called strike 3. That's 13 strikeouts now for Pesa. 2 away. It's all left up to Ivestall. She's walked and singled, scored her.
Dan Keating, KMAV on the call there. Yeah, Olivia Pesa was brilliant. She struck out 13 for Velva Drake Animus in the 2-1 win over Thompson. The 1 o'clock time slot on Saturday in the Squirrel Softball East-West Invitational featured a marathon game. Des Lacs, Burlington, Lewis and Clark topped Kindred Richland 7-6 in a game that was nearly 2 games. It went 13 innings. Over on the football field at the same time, it was a doozy between Northern Cass and Heart River. Heart River, to this point in the season, undefeated. Northern Cass puts up the goose egg on them, and the Jaguars win it 2-0. The 3 o'clock time slot featured Central Cass's second of 3 games in the day as they took down Thompson by a mark of 9-1 in a rematch of the 2018 East Region Final. And on the football field, a wild game went back and forth, big deficits overcome, and ultimately it was Hillsborough Central Valley defeating Watford City 15-12 in 8 innings.
It's one high in the air to left field, going back. It's gone, a home run. Well, we said we hadn't seen a home run. We have now a 3-run home run by Sage Forseth, and the Burros take a 15-12 lead.
Thanks again there to Dan Keating of KMAV for both coming out and doing all the games, 5 of them over the weekend, and providing some audio here for the podcast. Yeah, that was the big blow from Sage Forseth in the top of the 8th, the 3-run homer to lead Hillsborough Central Valley past Watford City in 8 innings, 15-12. 5 o'clock time slot, I actually got out there and was able to take in portions of each of these games. Mayport CG Area 8-2 winners over Bishop Ryan in a game that was pretty close for most of it, and then the Patriots pulled away late, and Heart River catching Kindred after that long marathon game against Des Lacs, Burlington, Lewis and Clark. Heart River 12-2 winners in a 10-run rule game there. And then there was just one game at 7 o'clock, and again, it was a pretty good one for most of the way. Man alive, both these teams played great defense. Ultimately, the hometown Central Cass Squirrels ran away with it late, 11-1 winners over Velva. Now, when you tally it all up, there were 14 games in the Squirrel Softball East-West Invitational that featured a team from the East and a team from the West. And you know what? It was pretty even. A slight edge to the East as they win 8 and the West wins 6 in the first ever Squirrel Softball East-West Invitational. Fun little thing there. The West teams and the East teams in Class B haven't played each other outside of the state tournament very often, really, in the history of softball in the state of North Dakota. And with that, why don't we bring on one of the Squirrels? In fact, the Squirrel that threw the gem at 2 o'clock on Friday to really kick off this whole thing. We bring in senior pitcher and first baseman from Central Cass. It's Lexi Boer. Lexi, thank you so much for taking some time to join the program after a pretty long weekend at the Squirrel Softball East-West Invitational.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Let's start with, I think, the game that people had circled on your East-West Invitational calendar. It was the first game on Friday, number 1 Central Cass and number 2 Des Lacs, Burlington, Lewis, and Clark. And you were in the circle for that one. Your team came out on top 6-0 in a rematch of the state championship game last year, and you only gave up 1 hit. So talk about just setting the tone and how you were able to control their lineup throughout the course of the game.
Well, I guess we kind of have a target on our back since we're the number 1 ranked team, and they're number 1 from the West, so they're obviously out for our blood. And since we beat them last year in the championship, so it was nice to just kind of have a rematch, I guess. And it was nice to see their new team this year, and then they got to see us as well. So it was nice to kind of see the different things they're going to bring to the table this year, and then they got to see that from us as well.
Yeah, and really just the whole idea of this type of an invite has been talked about forever. The East and West don't get a lot of opportunities to play each other during the regular season. Usually it's in the state tournament, like you kind of mentioned there. But this was fantastic. So not only did you get to take on, obviously a very good Des Lacs team on Friday, but you were busy on Saturday as well, playing Minot Bishop Ryan, Thompson, who's from the East, but not in your sub-region, and then finish things up against Velva, Drake, Anamoose. Maybe talk a little bit, Lexi, just about how unique it is. You get to play some teams that you don't normally get to play, and you got to play them at your own place.
Yeah, it's nice to get to see the teams from the West and from different regions in the East as well before it comes to tournament time. And it's kind of different because you wouldn't get to normally play those teams in the regular season, so it's kind of an advantage.
Yeah, we're talking to Lexi Boer here of the Central Cass Squirrels. Just wrapped up a 4-0 weekend in the East-West Invitational Tournament, and winning is just kind of something that's become synonymous with Central Cass over the years. It's very normal to see the Squirrels putting up big numbers, winning a lot of games, and winning state championships. So, Lexi, talk a little bit about maybe the expectation that you have every year to be successful when you play softball at Central Cass.
Yes, every year we have the same goals, and one of them is to compete for championships. So it doesn't matter what our lineup is or who's on the team. We have the same expectation that we're going to compete for championships every year.
Absolutely. That's a good way of saying it. And I think it starts with your head coach, the guy who's seemingly been there forever. Heck, he's still your coach, and they named the complex after him. I think that means a lot. But Lexi, talk a little bit about Coach Scott and obviously what he means to the program, but how he helps the whole team continue that success day after day, year after year.
Yeah, Scott's an amazing coach, and not only coach but also supporter. He supports you on and off the field, and he wants to see us succeed. So he puts in extreme amount of hours every week, and he'll stay after practice to make us be better because he wants us to be successful.
And I mentioned just a second ago that they did, in fact, name the complex. It's Scott. It's not Scott. It's Cost Field. It's beautiful, but I think the key here about your new field is that it's turf. And I know you all have gotten asked these questions on the news for the newspaper and all this stuff, but I'll ask it one more time. What are the advantages of having turf in this spring sports season where we never know when the snow is going to be out of here?
Yeah, well, obviously we had a pretty long winter this year, so we had to shovel the field a few times, but we got out before a lot of teams would have. If we had a regular just inline field, we wouldn't have got out as early as we did. So with the turf, we can get out earlier, and even when it's raining or anything like that, we can continue to play. We don't have to stop practice or whatever. We can play through it.
Yeah, absolutely. Something that I'm sure as schools and foundations can raise some money, we'll start to see more turf fields all over the state of North Dakota as time goes on. Talking to Lexi Boer here of Central Cass. She's been one of the regular pitchers over the last handful of years here, and coming into the season only had one loss while pitching. And Lexi, as we'll transition back into talking games here, just had a big week, but you've got another big week ahead of you. A couple games against Hillsboro. You get a rematch with Hankinson. They're the only team to beat you so far this year. And then Northern Cass a little bit later in the week. Just talk about getting back to business and maybe specifically that Hankinson game since they picked you off earlier this year.
Yeah, when we play Hankinson, we'll definitely sharpen things up. We had a lot of errors when we played them the first time, so we expect to be sharper out on the field, and I think that will help us as well. And then hitting, obviously, we didn't do very well that game. So hitting, we just have to be more patient and have a better pitch selection and know what you're looking for when you go into the box, and that will be helpful and also like not making as many errors during the game because we had a lot last time too. So just being sharper all the way around will help us be more successful.
Yeah, absolutely. And it does feel like you've sharpened things up. The other day you had a 16-0 win against Northern Cass. We mentioned that you picked off Des Lacs, Burlington, Lewis, and Clark 6-0. And I'm not sure if I mentioned the scores even, but beat Bishop Ryan 14-4, beat Thompson 9-1, and beat Velvet Drake Anamoose 11-1. So, Lexi, if we fast forward just a little bit, you get another neat tournament, of course, weather permitting, here in a couple of weeks. Over in Fargo, it's the AB Clash. Kind of the only thing like it in North Dakota. 4 Class A teams, 4 Class B teams. This will be the third year everybody gets together. And, well, Central Cass has dominated. They've won every game in this thing. But you get to play some unique competition, but typically some bigger schools and some schools that do well in Class A. So talk about that opportunity that you guys get every year.
Yeah, it's a unique opportunity, like you mentioned, where we get to go face teams from Class A where we wouldn't face normally in the regular season, and they push us to like play well and be sharp, and they push us all the way around. So they help us become better athletes. They push us to be better.
Yeah, and again, the Squirrels have been very successful in that. In years past, it's the 4 schools from right inside Fargo, and then you get Central Cass, Kindred Richland, Hillsboro, Central Valley, and Northern Cass, all at Mickelson Field in Fargo. Always very cool. Shifting gears here for just a second to the North Dakota Softball All-Star Series, the Shields Softball All-Star Series, as it were. Coming up again, year number 3. The Squirrels have had 3 players in the past 2 years be part of it, with Maddie Foss, Maddie Sweep, and Hallie Holzer, and we won't have the official finalized rosters here for probably another week or so, but we'll let the cat out of the bag a little bit and say Central Cass had number 4 and number 5 selected with the girl we're talking to right now, Lexi Boer, and her teammate Peyton Richter. Lexi, talk about how cool that is that not just you, but you and a teammate get recognized as a couple of the top seniors in the state.
Yeah, it's a really awesome opportunity, especially playing with Peyton. We've played together our whole lives, so it's kind of a good way to just wrap up our whole career, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. We're looking forward to having you, and we'll announce the rest of the full rosters, I should say, here in about a week. We'll play in Fargo and at the new turf field in Bismarck at the end of, or the beginning of June, at the end of the high school season later this year. So, Lexi, let me keep you on for one more thing. I always like to play a little game, like to get to know the people we're talking to a little bit better. So I've got a game ready for you of this or that. Basically, I'm going to give you 2 things, this or that, and you're going to tell me which one you'd pick. Sound good?
Yeah.
All right, some of these are going to be easy, but I think some of these are at least a little bit challenging. So let's see what happens. Okay, would you rather be inside or outside?
Outside.
Rather eat fruit or vegetables?
Fruit.
Do you prefer Christmas or Halloween?
Christmas.
Are you a colors person or do you like black and white?
Colors.
Snapchat or Instagram?
Instagram.
Surprised me on that one. Fall or winter?
Fall.
Doing dishes, we're into chores now. Doing dishes or doing the laundry?
Dishes.
Eating a home-cooked meal or going out somewhere to eat?
Home-cooked meal.
Going to the lake or going to check out a concert?
Going to the lake.
Beautiful. Last one for you, Lexi. Cake or pie?
Cake.
Nicely done. Lexi Boer, a senior at Central Cass. Lexi, again, thanks for taking some time here to chat with us, especially after such a long week. We wish you the best of the luck here the last couple weeks of the season and into the playoffs, and maybe we'll talk to you again down the road.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Lexi Boer, a senior and Shield Softball All-Star from Central Cass. Let's go from that side of the rematch of the state championship game from last year to the other side, heading out west, the way of Des Lacs, Burlington, Lewis and Clark, a star junior pitcher for the Lakers. It's Erica Hermanson. Erica, thank you so much for taking some time to join the program.
Hi, guys. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Glad that you were able to make it work. And I want to just start where it all began. We were kind of talking off air. You've been pitching since you were very, very young, and you've been a pretty regular member of the pitching staff for Des Lacs, Burlington, Lewis and Clark since you were in 8th grade. A lot of innings, a lot of strikeouts. Maybe just talk about what it's taken in kind of that process of learning how to pitch and learning how to pitch well.
Well, through the years, I have definitely become more confident in myself and in my pitches as well. It took me many, many years to accomplish all of the spins correctly and to get like my pitches down the way I wanted to. And I've come to realize that hard work overpowers everything. And by putting in hard work, I believe that I've become mentally stronger and physically stronger, and that has helped me mature so much.
Yeah, absolutely. And statistically, Erica, one of the top pitchers in the state, regardless of class or region or anything like that. Erica, maybe tell us a little bit about your stuff, what kind of pitches you throw, what your philosophy is that allows you to rack up the strikeouts and to be effective in the circle.
Well, a few of my best pitches are my curveball, my rise ball, my changeup, working on my drop. I don't know. I pitch every pitch, and the mindset that I have for each batter is the same. They want to hit, so I just try my hardest not to allow that. I don't really think about the strikeouts. I just think about each and every pitch separately, one pitch at a time, and then the strikeout just comes with it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it seems to be working. You had 18 of them in one game the other day, and you've had several games with double-digit strikeouts, so it seems to be working. Let's transition for a second here and talk about team. As a team, Des Lacs, Burlington, Lewis, and Clark seems to be doing a little more every year, right? A couple years ago, the undefeated regular season. Last year, all the way to the state championship game before dropping the game to Central Cass. But just talk about that progression of your team. Every year, probably a little more confidence, a little bit higher of a goal, and now I suppose the goal is winning that state championship.
Oh, definitely. Well, in order to accomplish that, we just have to take it step by step each day and get better. And first we have to make it to state, and then from there we take it game by game and get back to the title game. Then if we make it there, we just need to be more confident as a team, relax, and then take it inning by inning. And if something goes wrong, probably not get too down on ourselves.
Yeah, talking a little bit about the future and what DLBLC can do to potentially win that first state championship, but also be the first state championship for the West, if that were to happen. But let's back up just slightly to the past where you just came from. A couple of games in Castleton in the East-West Invite. Started with a rematch with Central Cass, a 6-0 loss, a closer score than the state championship game last year, but still, Erica, maybe not quite what you wanted.
Yeah, we definitely weren't on our bats that game, but we held them until the 5th inning, which was a huge accomplishment as a team because we felt that we could compete up to their level, and we were competing against great softball players, a team that is very successful, and just that feeling that we kind of stuck with them there for a while, it kind of gave us more confidence in ourselves and as a team too.
And then you came back the next day and you played a team that has been good seemingly every year as well, Kindred Richland. And this year, maybe the win-loss, not exactly where Sam Brandt would like her team to be, but they're in every game. They've had so many of these one-run games, and your game with Kindred Richland, no different. Seemed like you played forever, bit of a marathon game, but you came out on top 7-6. Talk about that game a little bit.
Broken Bono started off on the mound, pitching wonderfully, and we were both equally great teams. And we were getting on our bats. I feel like once they started scoring as much as we kind of got a little stressed and down on ourselves. But we never give up as a team. We're very well at staying with the groove of the game, and very confident. And my team as a whole, we do really well under pressure. And to pull off that win, it was really a huge confidence booster as well. It was really good for our team.
Yeah, and that'll propel you into a new week here where you've got a couple more games, and they're always important as we get later and later in the season. You've got Divide County, Ray, and then the one that I kind of have circled is your game against Bishop Ryan. They beat you back in the opener 1-0. You two played great games last year. I think 3 of them. I think you met in the region tournament as well. What's it going to take to get past Bishop Ryan and make sure you even up that series so far this year at 1-1?
Bishop Ryan is always a competitive team, so obviously playing against them, we will always have a tight game. So we'll have to be, as a team, comfortable with it being a close game. We will need to have solid hits and smart base running, and with that, I think that's what we're going to need to get a win off of Bishop Ryan.
Talking to Erica Hermanson here, a pitcher, first baseman. She's a junior for Des Lacs, Burlington, Lewis, and Clark. I got another question for you, Erica. Got to know Mel a little bit over the years, coached for DLBLC for a while, and now we've got Peggy in there. New coach, is it a new mindset, or is it kind of just we're going to keep working towards that goal, keep trying to get better every day and try to win a championship?
Well, having Coach Pearson as a coach doesn't change much at all. She's been with us as an assistant coach for the last few years. So the girls and I are already very comfortable with her, and we just all work very well together.
Perfect. So we've talked a lot of softball here with Erica Hermanson, Des Lacs, Burlington, Lewis, and Clark, one of the top pitchers in the state, regardless of class. Now, Erica, hopefully this is the easier part. I want to play a little game of this or that. I'm just going to give you one thing or the other, and simply I just want you to tell me which thing you like better. Sound good?
Alrighty.
All right, let's start with being inside or being outside.
Outside for sure.
I think that's a no-brainer for a softball player, so I try to give the easy one right away. Okay,
yeah.
Let's get a little harder. Fruit or vegetables?
Fruit.
Okay, fair. Halloween or Christmas?
Christmas.
Yeah, but then you got all that snow, but yeah, still good. Are you a colors person or do you like black and white?
Oh, I'd say colors.
Okay, very good. How about Snapchat or Instagram?
Instagram.
We're going to go away from softball season. Fall or winter?
Oh. Well, summer is definitely my favorite season, but between those two, fall.
I figured. Fair answer. All right. Let's get into some household chores. Doing dishes or doing laundry?
Laundry, for sure.
Eating a home-cooked meal or going out somewhere to eat?
Probably going out.
Okay, if you're going to go out, where are you going to go?
I'd say something casual like Applebee's.
You can't go wrong with Applebee's. They have good happy hours. You get like half off apps. It's wonderful. Okay,
Yep.
back to this or that. You rather go to a lake or you rather go to a concert?
A lake.
And then by far my favorite question, do you prefer to eat some cake or some pie?
Oh, cake, I'd say.
Fair. I'm team pie, but I respect team cake. Very cool. Erica Hermanson, Des Lacs, Burlington, Lewis, and Clark, a team that's getting a little bit closer to a state championship every year. Maybe this is the year that they go get it. Erica, congrats on everything you've done so far in your career and this year. Best of luck rest of the way, and maybe we'll talk to you down the road.
Thank you so much.
That's Erica Hermanson from Des Lacs, Burlington, Lewis, and Clark. Big thank you to Erica and to Lexi Boer, both for joining our program today. As we look ahead, week 1, and I'm saying that in air quotes, coaches' polls will be released on the evening of Monday, April 29th. We'll see what kind of shakeup there is there after teams have, finally been able to get on the field and play a little bit. And the All-Star roster kind of let you in on a secret on 2 of them. Congratulations to Lexi Boer and Peyton Richter from Central Cass, becoming the 4th and 5th Squirrels to make the All-Star Series over the 3 years of existence. But the entirety of the 2019 Shields Softball All-Star Series rosters will be released on May 3rd. So we have that to look forward to. That's coming up at the end of the week. And then, of course, we'll talk about it and probably talk to an All-Star or 2 in the next podcast, which will come out the first Monday of May. Well, that's it for another edition of the North Dakota Softball All-Stars podcast. Hopefully this snow and rain that we've been getting Sunday here into Monday isn't too crazy, and we're able to get back on the field soon. Remember, you can find us at ndsballstars.com or on Twitter and Facebook. Just search NDSB All-Stars. My name's Tim, studio host of this podcast. I'll catch you next time.